Hello guys, Sold here. I hope this video doesn't open up any old wounds. However, I can't really guarantee that because today in this video we're going to be going over one of the most controversial events in probably all of Nitro Type. If you've read the title, you know I'm of course talking about the Great Potato War, the war between the Empyrean Conquerors, the Nitro Type admins, and the Potatoes. I cannot wait to get into this video with you guys. I've seen a lot of other content creators try and grasp the full scope of what was going on in this situation. However, none of them have really had all the information to make a proper video on it, and believe me, there's a lot more to this story than immediately meets the eye, so I can't wait to get into it with you guys. But before I do, remember, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Also appreciate it if you liked and shared this video with a friend. Follow my new Twitch, which is linked in the description, and without further ado, let's get into this absolutely banger video. And again, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye, so much in fact that we're gonna have to go back quite a few years to really grasp the full scope of this story. First of all, let me introduce you to Team Sect, aka the Empyrean Conquerors. They were a competitive Nitro Type team that took over the leaderboards from Season 0.5 to Season 1, roughly 2016 to 2017. However, today they are known as one of the most controversial Nitro Type teams of all time, due to the fact of the way they earn points, and also because they actually had direct interference from the Nitro Type admins to make sure that their team didn't make its projected course to the top 3 teams. The team captain of the Empyrean Conquerors was named Nightmare, and Nightmare was quite a controversial player. First of all, Nightmare had a rivalry with another famous player at the time named Smithy, who is still famous to this day. However, the rivalry was actually quite a big rivalry, as Nightmare was planning to overtake Smithy and get that #1 spot. However, it turns out Nightmare had been cheating, and the whole team took the hit for it. As it turned out, Nightmare was using guest races to shorten their race times, thus far making them be able to do more races faster and get more points. And as a punishment for this type of cheating, the Nitro Type admins stripped away all of Nightmare's points and lost their account, basically meaning the whole team lost a valuable player and they plummeted below, not being able to get that champion team title and falling behind the top 3 spots. However, even though they had this failure, they're still considered to be one of the teams that really revolutionized what teams are like today. They were some of the first teams to really have like an actual Discord community where the team could talk to each other, organize races and things like that. And they were also one of the first teams to really like do bursts of races. You've seen those teams that just go up for like a season or two and then like leave or so. You know, like one of those quick teams. They were one of the first teams that really revolutionized just being there and doing a quick burst of a ton of races. They were one of the teams that really revolutionized what teams are like today. So a lot of people, despite the controversy surrounding the team, still think the team deserves a little bit of recognition due to the fact that it is really, again, like I said, one of the teams that revolutionized modern Nitro Type teams. So yeah, that's why people have a lot of respect for the team. However, that is also why the name Empyrean Conquerors carries a lot of controversy with it. Cut to a few months ago, and the Nitro Type Hub Twitter account asks its fans what titles they would like to see in the game. They would then choose the most liked replies in the comments, put them in a poll, and the winner of that poll would actually get their title in-game. This was a huge opportunity, so a ton of people took advantage of it, and a ton of people put their titles in the replies to see if their title could, of course, be added to actual Nitro Type. First of all, the titles that got the top 3 spots were the Bittersweet title, recommended by Todd Starr, the Empyrean Conqueror title, recommended by the Lightning Feminist, and the Potatoes title, recommended by Skittles Typer. I, of course, supported the Potatoes title just because I wanted to support my boy Skittles. However, no matter what title you chose, they were all going into the 3 poll, and one of them would be coming out on top. Again, this was actually the first competition of its kind. This was a huge deal, so a lot of people started making tons of videos on it, telling people what to vote for and all types of things like that. However, before we get to that part, we of course have to discuss the titles. First of all, if you didn't know this, Skittles put in a ton of titles. Skittles had 8 replies, and one of them happened to get Potatoes. His most liked reply there was the Potatoes title, so it got added in. But for the people that think a bunch of people just voted for Potatoes, they did, but Skittles also put in a lot more titles besides that. Skittles really just threw a ton of hats in the ring so that one of them would come out on top, which you can't really blame him for. Second of all, of course, Todd Starr recommended the Bittersweet title. I have no idea who that is, and I'm pretty sure they just liked the sound of the title. I mean, Bittersweet, it's a cool title, kind of boring in my opinion, but you personally could like that. I have nothing against you if you do. And then finally, Lightning Feminist recommending the Empyrean Conqueror title. Of course, referencing the team that we were just talking about a few minutes ago. And of course, this name carries a lot of controversy with it. These are the 3 most liked replies, so they all went to a poll in the end. However, let's take a moment to take NitroType's point of view on this. You've got 3 titles, one of them is going to be added into the game. First of all, you have Potatoes and Bittersweet, 2 titles that are completely fine from your point of view. But then you have the 3rd title, Empyrean Conquerors, which is a team that you as a NitroType admin, maybe personally, had actually shut down in the previous seasons. This was actually a team that the NitroType admins win against. No matter your opinion on whether they should have or should not have win against the team, you still have to note that they did. So they're still against the idea of an Empyrean Conqueror title because it references a team that they do not support. So whatever your opinion on that is, you still have to accept the fact that they're probably not going to want the title Empyrean Conqueror in the game. A content creator by the name of Titanium Tendons, which you all probably know, actually put this in a perfect way. NitroType is leaning towards their more corporate side in this specific instance. Titanium Tendons, in their video focusing on this, definitely focused a lot on how old NitroType is dead and there's only new NitroType here, for better or for worse. And honestly, no matter your opinion on new NitroType or old NitroType, no matter which you prefer, we're definitely moving on to a new age of NitroType where NitroType's act is cleaned up a significant amount. And in this case, it would be not supporting certain things. For example, old NitroType would name certain cars after famous racers or something like that. However, even they've been renaming actually a lot of older cars like that to be more acceptable car names. This is definitely the more corporate side of NitroType. However, as NitroType evolves, they're eventually going to get here anyway. So NitroType just needs to abandon their old ways. For better or for worse, it's kind of sad to see, but this is a prime example of them doing that. Even though the Empyrean Conquerors ended up winning the vote in the end, they couldn't add Empyrean Conquerors in the game for multiple reasons, but one of them definitely being that it's supporting a team that is not responsible for a company. And so really they couldn't add it in the game whether they wanted to or not if they wanted to keep taking steps forward to the new NitroType is becoming. Now, of course, the association between the Empyrean Conqueror title and the Empyrean Conqueror team is not a confirmed reason for why NitroType decided not to add the title to the game. However, I do think it is quite a likely explanation. One of the things that I feel backs it up even more is the fact that NitroType's explanation of why they decided not to add it into the game was a pretty bad explanation in general. NitroType decided not to add it into the game because Penguin Typer told people that if it won, he was going to do a massive giveaway. However, this doesn't really make all that much sense to me. Penguin Typer did a whole video where he basically went on a huge rant about why this was bad, and a lot of the reasons in that video were pretty good. Some of them were kind of scuffed and kind of biased, But I do think he brought up some pretty good points. First of all, one of the things he hugely pointed out in that video was that Skittles, probably the main advocate for Potatoes, actually made their own giveaway promoting a gold membership and $10 million. Which, a $100 million giveaway and a gold membership and 10 mil, they're not the same value, but I do think they're pretty close in terms of value, because one includes IRL money, and that is pretty well valued in the Nitro type community. And even besides Penguin Typer and Skittles Typer going at it with each other, there was a lot more content creators also putting their opinions into the ring with their own giveaways. I know that Gemma was doing a sort of giveaway on their live stream saying that, like, whoever did and voted Potatoes, he was personally giving $100,000. I know Echo was trying to get Potatoes in there. I know Speed Typing was trying to get Empyrean Conquerors in there. Titanium Tenons was, of course, trying to get Empyrean Conquerors because he's, like, one of those OG players, you know? He has to get that good, like, OG fix in, and I honestly can't blame them. I don't blame anyone's opinions on what they're voting for. A lot of people, again, mainly just voted for whatever sounded better in their opinion. So that's what a lot of people voted for. However, Nitro Type, again, said that because Penguin Typer decided to put out a giveaway for if Empyrean Conquerors won, then Empyrean Conquerors didn't get added into the game, which is an interesting reason. Now, of course, something that a lot of people for some reason weren't considering was the fact that Penguin Typer does have a lot larger of an audience. For example, Skittles could have done like a $1,000 million bazillion dollar giveaway, but just because Penguin Typer put out another giveaway, however he has a bigger audience, more people probably would have stuck with Penguin Typer just because they don't know about Skittles Typer's existence in that giveaway. However, that's not exactly the best reason either, because there's a ton of people on both sides advocating for what title they wanted, except for Bittersweet. Bittersweet had no one. It was kind of like the Moo Bloom of this whole event. Yeah, that was not the best, but really, you do have to consider, it's a weird reason. It's definitely a weird reason, and that's why I personally think there's more to it than just that, and they also was Nitro Type trying to remove that whole Empyrean Conqueror team from history. Now, of course, they're not removing it from history. That's a little dramatic. What I meant to say is they don't want to reference a team they do not support. And so, I mean, of course, that's not a confirmed reason, but it seems like much more likely of a reason than just because one particular YouTuber made a video advocating for it, especially when a ton of other NT content creators also made videos and posts about their own opinions as well. So it's definitely a really interesting situation, and that's why it's one of the most controversial Nitro type events to this day. However, there's a lot more to this story than just that. We're gonna have to go back a few steps, and I'm gonna reveal some pretty crazy information. First of all, as someone on the Potatoes side of this war, as soon as we saw Penguin Typer make a video on it, we immediately knew that we were on the losing side of this war. So the challenge wasn't to make Empyrean Conquerors lose and make Potatoes win, but the goal was to make two titles win. And now this turned out to be not a problem at all, because despite the fact that Empyrean Conquerors won, it didn't get added to the game and Potatoes did, so we kind of did win despite the fact that we didn't win. However, at the time before this ever happened, our goal was no longer to make Potatoes win, but to make Potatoes and Empyrean Conquerors win. So there was a whole bunch of trying to convince admins, mainly who didn't respond at all. Completely normal, not their fault at all, but I mean, it was worth a shot to try and be like, yo, I just add the Potatoes. And yeah, there was a whole bunch of stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of trying to rig the Twitter vote. I will not say any names, but I know it was happening on like all three different sides. People were trying to rig the Twitter vote. So don't talk to me about like Empyrean Conquerors didn't. I know that they did. So that's one of the things I actually didn't like about this. Everyone was saying that their side didn't rig the vote, but everyone was rigging the vote. Not me, though, or not anyone I will name, because I don't want to get them banned from Twitter or anything like that. So I'm not naming any people, but I can confirm there were people on all sides trying to rig the vote into their favor. Don't pretend like only this side was doing dirty moves. Okay, so there was things like that going on. There was also lots of, again, trying to convince admins, none of which who responded. However, there was something really important. First of all, before the vote was over, it was probably like a few hours left before the vote was going to end, we were trying to get Potatoes added to the game. And before the vote was even over, we already had gotten news that Potatoes was going to win and Empyrean Conquers wasn't going to win. This information was kind of kept as a secret between a few of the people on the Potatoes side because, of course, we didn't want to get anyone mad or anything around those lines at all, that we already knew, despite the fact that Empyrean Conquerors was going to win, Potatoes was going to get added. Now, at the time, we didn't know that Empyrean Conquerors wasn't going to get added. We just thought we had finally convinced the admins to let Potatoes in as well, but then it later turned out that they just fully kicked out Empyrean Conquerors and let Potatoes in, which is definitely really interesting. Before the vote was even over, we already had confirmation that Potatoes was going into the game. Now, completely honest, us knowing that Potatoes was getting added to the game, it didn't really affect the war all that much. All that allowed us to do was to cut some slack for ourselves, knowing that we had kind of already won the war and our title was getting added in. However, what we didn't know was that Empyrean Conquerors was being cut out. So while the entire world was kind of mad that Potatoes was added in and Empyrean Conquerors was not, we weren't exactly mad, we were just kind of mystified on why they had decided to cut out Empyrean Conquerors, because we already knew Potatoes was being added in. However, like I just said through this whole entire video, I have a few different ideas from why NitroType decided to cut out Empyrean Conquerors and add Potatoes. First of all, it wasn't particularly like they really liked Potatoes. It was just an okay title and it got more votes than Bittersweet. However, of course, I presented quite a few outcomes. Of course, they could have just saw the Penguin Typer video and that explanation was completely correct. However, it's a little weird. There's, of course, my main explanation that they don't want to reference a team that they do not support. I think that's the best explanation. However, again, that's kind of purely theoretical, and all we have in the end is the information that they officially gave us, and that was because Penguin Typer posted a giveaway, and a lot of people would see that the vote was automatically biased towards them. However, it's definitely interesting why they decided to add Potatoes. Maybe they wanted to benefit like a certain amount of the people who voted and make them happy. But then again, it's like, if you're not adding one, why don't you add all of them? Or if you're adding one but it didn't win, why not add all of them? I don't know, definitely really interesting. I want to hear your thoughts on it in the comment section below. Now, of course, there was a reference to the Empyrean Conquerors in the latest season. Will it still be this season when the video comes out? I don't know. But the current season I'm recording this video in is the, Under the Sea season. And, the second to last year is the Aquarian Conquerors title. Of course, this is a reference to Empyrean Conquerors. I mean, there's no way, immediately the season before they have a huge controversy to do with Empyrean Conquerors, and then they introduce, Aquarian Conquerors next season. My personally thought on why they did this, I think it was to, half satisfy everyone who voted for Empyrean Conquerors, but if they really wanted to satisfy them, why don't just add in Empyrean Conquerors, which is, I think, another piece of evidence to them just not wanting to add Empyrean Conquerors, but they're fine with the title, they're just not fine with what it's referencing. That's my current theory on that. But yeah, Aquarian Conquerors is in, the current season at the time of recording this video, so it would make a lot of sense if, that is, a reference for, the Empyrean Conquerors. That just makes a lot of sense to me. Maybe it's mocking them. It half feels like NitroType is mocking us by making, a slightly altered version of the title, not just adding in the title. However, I mainly think it's something to satisfy the Empyrean Conqueror fans who feel like they've been, absolutely ripped off, and I can completely understand that. But yeah, that's the video. I know this ran really long, and I'm sorry about that. However, there was a lot to cover. I'm sorry for like the stuttering and stuff like that. This video was completely done on improvision. You might have heard a few cuts, so I'm cutting in parts, but this was completely done from improvision. So I hope you really enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me lately, and I'm so glad to be back in the NitroType community and making videos. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say in this video. Comment your thoughts on this whole event in the comments section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Sold out.